The thing about stories is that they shape us. They can terrify us so much that years later we still avoid the things that reminded us of them. And sometimes they linger in our minds so much that we're never quite sure if they actually happened or not. In the case of my grandfather, it was both. He had a story about his time in the war, something he witnessed during the Battle of the Bulge that left him shaken to his core. He never told anyone about it until decades later when he was an old man. But even then, he refused to go into detail. What's funny is that this story wasn't particularly gruesome or graphic, but just the idea of what he saw was enough to convince me that I should never go into the forest. Well, here I am today. I'm doing something my grandfather swore he'd never do, exploring the woods behind our house. As a kid, I would always beg my parents to allow me to venture back there, but they were firm in their no. Not only was it dangerous being lost in the woods, but whatever it was my grandfather had seen back there must have been truly terrifying. When he passed away a few years ago, my curiosity got the better of me, and I started to explore these woods myself. I did find some pretty cool stuff, some remnants of the past that showed how these woods had changed over the decades. But nothing really stood out as super scary until today. My sister and I decided to head back here for one last hike before winter sets in. It's been a while since we've been back here, and I'm curious to see how much things have changed. The last time I was here, I was certain that nothing had changed at all, that the woods looked exactly as they had when my grandfather had gone through them 82 years ago. But that couldn't be further from the truth. It looks like some trees have grown, branches have fallen, new plants have sprung up. This place feels like it could use a good cleaning. I'm making my way deeper and deeper into these woods, my boots sinking into the mud with every step. There's a thick fog rolling in. It's starting to get cold. My fingers are getting stiff. It's probably time to head back. But then I spot something in the distance, something that I didn't see the last time I was here. It looks like an old shack. Maybe this was where my grandpa took cover. No, that wouldn't make sense. If he'd found shelter here, he would have talked about it. As I make my way closer to the shack, I realize that it doesn't look anything like the shacks that I used to play in when I was a kid. It looks old, very old, older than anything I've seen around these parts. There are boards missing from the walls. The roof caved in a long time ago. There's a single window staring back at me like a vacant eye socket. It's unsettling, but I feel compelled to go inside. The floorboards creak under my weight. There's a musty smell, like old books and damp earth. In the corner, I see a shelf with a book lying on it. I walk over and pick it up. The cover is torn off, but I can read the title, Grimm's Fairy Tales. How did this end up here? What was this person reading fairy tales for? Who was this person? There's another book underneath it, this one bound in leather. I open it up and it's filled with strange symbols and diagrams. One illustration stands out to me. It looks like a tree, but it has roots that spread out across the page and strange markings throughout the branches. As I stare at it, trying to figure out what it means, I hear a noise outside. I don't want to scare myself, so I tell myself it's just the wind. But it doesn't sound like the wind. It sounds like footsteps. I start to panic. Am I really alone out here? I listen intently. Are those footsteps coming closer? Then I hear a voice. I can't make out the words, but it's definitely a man's voice. He's calling out my name. Then I see it. A pair of muddy boots coming up the stairs. I hide the books and try to make myself scarce. Whoever's coming up these stairs doesn't need to know that I've been here. I peek out from behind the bookshelf and watch as a man enters the shack. His face is weathered and lined, his eyes sunken in. He walks over to the shelf and picks up the book of fairy tales. He opens it, but instead of looking at the pictures, he starts reading aloud. I try to make out his words, but all I can hear is gibberish. And yet, there's something about his voice that's incredibly familiar. Like I know that voice. I just can't place it. He reads for a few minutes, then closes the book and walks over to the other one. He flips through it until he gets to the drawing of the tree. He stares at it for a long time, then starts to hum. The tune he's humming is the same one that's been stuck in my head ever since I picked up that drawing. It's the tune that's haunted my nightmares. Suddenly, the man turns around and looks right at me. My blood runs cold. All this time, I'd convinced myself that the shack was abandoned, that whoever owned it wasn't there anymore. But now I know that's not true. I want to run, but my legs feel heavy like lead. I want to scream, but my voice won't come out. I watch in terror as the man begins to walk towards me, and then everything goes black. I wake up on the ground outside the shack, disoriented and scared. As I try to make sense of what happened, I realize I have no memory of leaving the shack. Did I pass out? Was I hit? Why do I have no memory of the last few minutes? I look up at the shack, but it's gone. In its place is a clearing. I search the area, but there's no sign of the man or the books, or anything else out of the ordinary. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Am I going crazy? Just then, I see something in the distance. Something moving. I squint my eyes and make out a figure walking towards me. It's the man from the shack. He's carrying a large sack over his shoulder. As he gets closer, I notice something else. His clothes are similar to the ones my grandfather wore during the war. Could this be him? Is he the ghost of my grandfather? He stops in front of me and reaches out a hand. His face is obscured by the shadows of his hat, but I can feel his eyes boring into mine. In a raspy voice, he asks me, "Did you find it?" Find what? I don't know what he's talking about. He sighs and runs a hand down his face. "Never mind," he says. "You're not supposed to remember anyway." He takes a step back and I catch a glimpse of his face. It's my grandfather. But how? How could he be dead and alive at the same time? He disappears and reappears in front of me, holding out a hand. "Come with me," he says. "I'll show you what's waiting for you." Do I trust him? Should I go with him? What if he's leading me into danger? I struggle with my decision, torn between my fear of the unknown and my desire to understand. He sees my hesitation and presses on, sensing my confusion. He explains that he needs my help to retrieve something important that was lost during the war, something powerful that shouldn't be disturbed. As he speaks, I notice strange markings on his arms, symbols that seem ancient and powerful. They resemble the ones I saw in the book, but these are real, pulsing with an eerie glow. Despite my apprehension, his words stir a sense of purpose within me. I think of my grandfather, wondering if this is his final request, a chance to honor him one last time. He extends his hand again, his eyes pleading for my help. I hesitate for a moment longer, battling my fear, then reach out and take his hand. It's freezing cold, like touching ice. He smiles, a sad, wistful smile, and says, "Thank you." Then he leads me into the fog, deeper into the woods. So, what was the scariest part of the story for you? Let me know in the comments below. And thanks for watching.